Today we have with us special guest Jeff Smith.
Thanks to me, because I invited him.
Of course. Thanks for coming, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Short notice, but we got some important things to talk about.
I was like, thank God I was looking at my phone.
Perfect timing, because we got the shooting in Minnesota with the ICE agents and Venezuela.
Yeah.
And a couple other things going on.
Yeah, we got a lot going on in our country and all over the world, actually. So Venezuela is a kind of a world thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to talk about first.
Let's talk about the hot topic that everyone's arguing over, which is the Minnesota shooting.
Well, wait, before we do that, because Jeff's been on here before, but I just want to make sure that we get a quick recap of Jeff's background.
Okay, so
and his
tell us why you
qualifications.
are qualified to tell everyone your opinion. We just love Jeff. He's amazing.
So firearms instructor, I own a firearms business. I was a director of training at C2 Tactical for 6 years and just stay up on just current events of shootings, active shooter events, things that you can look at and learn lessons learned from those and then translate that back out to the public.
But you're also a veteran.
I am.
And you were military police.
I was EOD K9 Security Forces. Yep.
And so this isn't your first rodeo.
No, it is not.
So you are super qualified.
Well, I like to think that I know a few people. And
you're a head of security for different places in the valley.
I am. Yep. Churches mostly. Yep.
Yeah, great. So let's get into it.
Jump right into it.
Okay.
People are arguing about this. Let me give you a couple arguments. They shouldn't have shot her. They had no right to shoot her. And then it's ruining the political climate in the country for conservatives. And there was a video of a doctor on the scene that said, "Let me see if there's a pulse." And they said that they stopped that doctor from going in there and they should have done it.
Yeah, so let's just all remember that this was less than 48 hours ago.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a lot of information that is still not public and probably won't be until the investigation is over. Anytime there's a police action, whether that's at the federal level, the state level, the city level, county level, it doesn't matter. Anytime there's a police action, there is an immediate action plan for that scenario. So in this case, there was an officer involved shooting. It was a federal officer, so they take control of the scene. Whether you like that or not, it is a crime scene. So they take control of that. They keep people from walking through the crime scene. They secure it, and they use their personnel for any medical attention that they need to give to them or any action that needs to be taken in regards to that. Now so everybody has probably seen one or two of the videos that are out there, maybe more than that. I searched a whole bunch of videos today. I made some phone calls after you asked me to come on so that I just had some stuff fresh in my head about it. There are still what people would say, they're just jumping on social media and talking about what they think should have happened.
But let's do this, Jeff. Let's break it down for people first and foremost. So because you came to us today, we were talking about it a little bit earlier before we started recording here, and there was some information that you had come across that we didn't actually even know. But this was not just a random thing with this interaction between these ICE agents and this lady. There was a history that was going on that day.
Right. So she had been following the convoy around, and she had been cutting in and out of their traffic. Okay. They like to keep a tight convoy, if you will, so that they're all in not only verbal communication, but they're in eyesight of each other, right? And so as they're going to serve a warrant on an illegal alien that has some type of crime, has committed some type of crime. So regardless of how you feel about that, that is the federal immigration law. Once they have a warrant, they can go and pick that person up. If you don't like the way they do that, that's fine. You can protest that. The First Amendment allows you to do that, but it doesn't allow you to interfere with law enforcement action. So you can stand on the sidewalk, you can do whatever you want as long as you're not impeding their operations or what they're doing. And so this lady and some other people were driving around. They were communicating with people where protesters should be. And a lot of these people were throwing snowballs at officers. And it's not like a snowball fight. Nobody knows what was inside those snowballs, if there was anything, or if they racked them to where they're ice balls. So now it's a solid piece of ice that they're throwing at somebody. And so officers have to be aware of their surroundings all the time. Now, this lady, so the convoy had a mishap. One of the vehicles apparently got stuck in the ice and snow on the side of the road. So they set up a perimeter. She went up and cut the front of the convoy off, meaning that there was no exit. Okay, so she was sideways, or she was parked across the roadway, she was across 2 lanes of traffic. So incoming and outgoing.
I like to break it down little by little, with my history as a former prosecutor as well. There's this action that's going on, and her act of going in and out and trying to disrupt this activity, I look at it in terms of, okay, every time there is some sort of illegal action, some chargeable crime, what is it? At this point, she's already committed obstruction of justice. That's already a chargeable crime, an arrestable offense at that point. And the fact that they had this vehicle that was disabled, stopped, and you mentioned setting a perimeter, that's important. Why?
Well, a lot of things are happening, right? So you set a perimeter for safety. So now they probably have some SOP that says what distance.
What's an SOP?
Standard operating procedure.
Okay.
So that's how they operate. We don't operate in a world of we just make it up as we go. There is a standard operating procedure for everything we do. Somebody falls, somebody gets shot, somebody is yelling and screaming or spitting on you. There is an SOP to handle each and every one of those scenarios. So this lady has now pulled up in front, and it's later in the day. Now she's been following them around. They've asked her to move along. They asked her to move her vehicle. She didn't do that. So there was a vehicle up front, which is the officer that actually is the one that everybody sees on the video that is taking the shots. He came from that vehicle. The vehicle behind them, those 2 officers exit the vehicle, and they were walking up towards her. One of them actually got a hand on the handle or the door of this lady's vehicle, and was attempting to open that. Well, it was locked, of course. They were telling her to stay put, don't move. There was an officer in front. In one of the angles, you can't really see that he's in front of the vehicle, but he's actually standing there telling her, don't move, stay right where you're at, and exit the vehicle. Okay. So she backs up.
And this is where I'm going to jump in again. Because at that point, backing up is arguably resisting arrest. So there's another chargeable crime.
Absolutely. So the officer has clearly given her a demand to stay where she's at. Don't move. That includes the vehicle you're sitting in. Okay. And then she got back to 3 or 4 feet away from him. She turns, and regardless if she knew or saw or anything of that officer in front of her, she sped up towards that officer that was in front of him. He put his hands out to on the hood of the vehicle, but then immediately drew his sidearm and fired a single round through the windshield. Then, as he was moving away from the hood of the car, he then took his firearm and fired 2 rounds through the window, or the open window of the driver's door. Now, from what I've heard from people that I've made some calls to, one of those rounds went into the seat, and the other one went into the floorboard up front, in front of her, on the passenger side. Then you see the vehicle driving off at a high rate of speed and crashes into another vehicle and a tree. And they have a SOP. So after an officer is involved in a shooting, this was not anybody returning fire. This was, he used his firearm to fire into this vehicle. They have protocols that they have to set. Okay. First, they have to check, is everybody okay in the team, right? And then they're going to go up and secure that, because they don't know what condition that person's in. They don't know if they have a weapon or anything like that. So they're going to set a perimeter on that vehicle. Okay. That is first and foremost before they allow medical to go up there, because they don't want medical personnel to go up there and then get in a firefight with somebody.
That makes sense. And
and so they have to secure that. They'll look at that and make sure that the firemen or the EMTs are safe to approach the vehicle. And this person coming up and saying that, hey, I'm a doctor, let me render aid. They don't know you from Adam.
Right.
You are trying to enter a crime scene. Sorry. I don't care if you're in scrubs. Don't care if you have a stethoscope around your neck. What were you doing there?
Right. And the hard part is, let's say this person had ill will towards that other person. You don't know that. And that's a lawsuit right there. Yeah. I was talking to Ken last night because I was arguing with someone on X, and they're like, life matters more than a crime scene. But what people don't understand are there are protocols to protect everyone involved. It's not just the police. It's to protect everyone involved. Because let's say, you're stalking me and there's something that happens, an altercation, and now I'm injured and my stalker comes up and is like, oh, let me give her aid. And he comes up and stabs me or strangles me. They have protocols. And the hard part, I feel like right now, the energy of America is emotions matter more than protocols. But the bottom line is, if you don't like something, like you were saying, if you don't like how ICE is going out, or you don't like the protocols, educate yourself and go and try to change the laws.
Yeah.
But just being upset and going, this isn't fair. I'm a middle child. Life isn't fair. My mom used to tell me that all the time. But if you don't like how something is and those protocols, then take the initiative to say, I'm going to go make a change, instead of just being a keyboard warrior and being like, that was unfair. That was this. Let's take a step. Let's take a breath and see, was there something illegally done? Let's listen to the whole story.
Right. And to address that again, going back to my steps along the way, the minute she stepped on the gas and started moving the vehicle towards that officer, just to be very clear, that is assault with a deadly weapon.
Well, it's a 4,000 pound.
It is a deadly weapon, and it can kill.
Yeah.
We know that from what we do day in and day out, handling accident cases. When you intentionally use it, it is a weapon. It is a deadly weapon. And that officer has an absolute right to defend himself with deadly force. That's the way the law reads.
Yeah. I got to be honest with, if you're going out here to these where ICE is doing these things and you're protesting, hey, they're doing a job. They didn't wake up one day and say, oh, let's go to Minneapolis. They're following orders just like everybody else. And that is their job. They chose to do it, and they do it with professionalism. You getting in the way only puts your life and their life in danger. And so I get it. I get that you have an opinion about something, but do it the right way. Do it peacefully. Do it on the sidewalks. And it's unfortunate that this has happened, but it really brings to light how dealing with something that it puts yourself in harm's way. I'm sure she didn't go out there to get shot, but she put herself in a position where she really put herself in harm's way at those officers.
And can't you also blame her own friends, thinking we can go out there and we can act this way, and you're being so brave and you're going to make a stand. Well, are you going to be a martyr? Just so you know, you might be going out there to be a martyr. And if you think it's the right cause or whatever. But I grew up with a dad as chief of police. I grew up around police, and I've always been nervous if I've ever been pulled over. Like, hey, I have no weapons. Here's my hands, and that's with growing up around police myself. I've always respected the authority, that they've had. And I've always, growing up in Chicago, been like, hey.
The default should be follow the instructions of the law enforcement officer. There will be a time and a place to challenge those officers' decisions. But right there in front of them in the heat of the moment, when they're feeling threatened, you're feeling threatened, there's all that back and forth going on. That's not the time to do it. It should really not.
Correct.
Yeah. And Meg, I wanted to ask you, don't you think, because you showed me that video of the one guy claiming to be a doctor wanting to get on the scene. Don't you think part of the uproar and the controversy is the officer's response to him by saying, I don't care who you say you are. And I don't think there was anything wrong with that, but don't you think that's part of what's striking the nerve of people saying he didn't care?
Well, because it doesn't matter. I mean, they're not going to sit there and, here's my credentials. Can you call? Let's stop what you're doing, protecting the crime scene and protecting other people and making sure it's safe while you go and make 20 phone calls to make sure I'm really a doctor when we're going to have EMS on the scene in 2 minutes. Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So I think that, the woman was screaming, going, you killed my neighbor. You're taking people away from their homes. We go to Europe, right? I go to Italy. Would I love to live in Italy? Sure. But I can't live there illegally. Right. And I'm not saying, one thing doesn't make something else correct. And my sister-in-law's dad was from Mexico and he did it the right way. And we know people that haven't done the right way. And I have empathy for these people. I understand it's difficult to get into this country. I have Filipino friends that they took 15 years to get in the country. It's not an easy thing, but the law is the law. That's how I come down to it. I'm like, the law is the law. And if you're sneaky about it and you get away with it, then you get away with it. And if you don't, then you don't, because the law is the law.
You have to face facts.
And so I think with that woman screaming like that, it just brings up that rage in America of victimhood, how things aren't fair, and how, authoritative, being authoritarian and them taking over the scene is kind of like, it's just very emotional versus, yes, there's emotion there. Yes, you obviously don't want this woman dead. You feel bad for the decisions that were made and how it all happened. And at the same time, equally, she broke the law and she made an officer feel like they had to protect themselves.
Yeah. And Jeff, what was probably going through that officer's mind when and I'm talking about the one who's telling the guy on camera that this is such an uproar about this guy, where he's saying, I'm a doctor, and the officer responds is, I don't care. Mm-hmm. What's going through his mind right then?
So SOP, right? He's like, I have a job to do. I don't care what you're saying to me or what you're doing. And they really don't. I mean, their job there is now to secure the scene. And people say all kinds of stuff, right? The lady is yelling and screaming, you're stealing people.
Right.
I'm like, wow, they're stealing people. That's pretty cool. So, and some people are saying they're kidnapping people, right? Well, kidnapping, if you look at the statute, I mean, it's really specific. That's not what they're doing, because they have a warrant signed by a judge. And so it's unfortunate, but they have to be kind of robotic. I mean, when I was doing stuff overseas, it just you have to be robotic about what you're doing and how you're doing it. or you leave room for problems.
Well, my dad used to say, being chief of police of Cook County, he said that there were a lot of beats out in downtown Chicago where his cops would come in contact with the same people every single day, robbing stuff, running from the police, doing. And so, he would tell his cops, hey, if you eventually get tired of that same guy doing, please tell me, because we're also human. Like, after the 80th time this guy's pulled a gun on you, or this guy's done this, and then you lose your cool because you're so sick of that same person at the same beat doing the same garbage, tell me first before you do something. And that's where I think the humanness of, police officers, the average person takes away. Yeah. Because my dad said, he said, Meg, we have to be right 100% of the time. We have to keep our cool 100% of the time. And you're having the same person poke you in the face 18,000 times, and you still got to keep your cool because you're a cop. And they're human. And so I'm not saying that this was a human instance, but still, that's a human being. That could be a dad or a son, and obviously a son because they were born. But that's that person at that moment. You see a vehicle coming at you. And then all of a sudden you make a decision, and now it's going to ruin your life because people are going to find out who that cop is. And they're going to say, whatever they're going to do to that person. Right. And it's just not fair, because then it makes people not want to be police officers.
Sure. Right. And with your dad, that was back years and years ago. Now everything's on camera.
Yeah.
Everything's recorded and posted to social media. So the guy's having to deal with that as well. And that's something that Jeff and I were also talking about is, just the guy pulled the trigger, and unfortunately this woman is now dead. This officer is not just off scot-free, whether he was justified or not. He's still going to have a desk job.
Yeah, he'll be most likely put on administrative leave while they go through the initial investigation. They'll get all the information that is available to them, and they will complete the investigation. Whether that investigation is public, I would imagine that they'll probably bring this one out public, because this was so public in social media. They'll probably come out and say what their findings were, but they don't. A lot of times they don't. Okay. So, but they'll probably come out. I would imagine, from everything that I've seen and heard from people that were available to talk to me, this was justified. He was in fear for his life. Now we have to go look at the totality of the circumstances. Who is this officer? What kind of training does he have? How long has he been there? Has he ever been involved in something like this before? And lo and behold, he was dragged by a car earlier in 2025. Right? Yeah. So he was, somebody charged at him with a vehicle. He got caught up in the vehicle and it dragged him. Oh. So that's going to be taken into consideration again. Is, hey, what's his psyche seeing this car coming?
Yeah, that's that humanness that you were talking about.
No, that is it. People don't think that police officers are human and have human emotions, and they are trained very well. You train. You told me about the training that you do, and you've said wear your heels because that's what that's what you're going to be in. But they are human. They are human as well, and you can't completely erase that from someone's brain. Right. We're not robots.
No, totally agree.
And let me give you a scenario that you talk about a police officer. A lot of people can't relate to a police officer, but I don't care if you're a store clerk or any job that you have, and somebody comes up and asks you, hey, where's the washroom? Well, the first guy, you're probably, it's right down the hall there where the sign is, right? And then the next guy comes and go, hey, where's the bathroom? And you're like, oh, it's right down the hall where the sign is, mm-hmm. Right? Well, if you get asked that 100 times in a single day, by the time that 100th guy comes up to you, it's the first time they're asking where the bathroom is, but it's the 100th time you've been asked. You may address that a little differently, right? So again, snowballs being thrown, people spitting on them, people yelling at them. How can you go to work? How can you get up every day and do this? That's the profession that they chose. I'm thankful that they did that. I'm thankful that they're doing what they're doing. I'm thankful that we have a president that is enforcing current laws on the books. I don't think we need new laws. I think we just need to enforce laws that are already current on the books and taking action. Now, things like this, unfortunate. I hate to see something like this happen, but
yeah,
it does.
Yeah, I think we all hate it, but there's a controversy that's brewing about it. So I think it's important we talk about it.
On the political side of it, because people are saying, I've read a couple comments where they're like, this is going to ruin the midterms for conservatives. Maybe they should have not shot. But when you're in the middle of something like that, you're not thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that. Let's wait for the outcome of this. Let's see, something else could happen and take this off the table.
Yeah,
sure.
And some people are like, oh, of course it happened in Minnesota with all of those,
the fraud
investigations with the daycares. Of course, they're trying to put it on something else within Minnesota. But then you'd say that this girl was hired. It's really convoluted.
Yeah. And I think Minnesota is going to be unfortunately, just something that happened in the day-to-day operations, because I think there's a lot more out there where really, the light has been shined on an area, and now they're looking throughout the country at those same areas, and they're finding lots and lots of fraud. And so I just read a story right before I came here today, California. I mean, it's Swiss cheese. It's just got holes everywhere when it comes to federal funds. Now, those are our tax dollars that are collected and used inappropriately. And I think that the public is getting a little tired of that when we see billions of dollars going overseas. If we have billions of dollars to send overseas, well, you're probably taxing me too much.
Right.
And it could be going towards programs for people that have
that
needs.
Really need it.
Yeah. And it's like not fair to these families that really need it. And they're just sucking all the money.
And I agree. I don't want to take away from, and these places in Minnesota that, they had good mission statements, right? Feed the children, right? I don't want a child to go hungry. That's terrible,
of course not.
Right? But
you have to do it legally.
Yeah.
And you have to do it where there's order. Yeah. How do you,
and there's got to be accountability.
There has to be.
We have to be able to audit it. We got to be able to say, well, how many kids are you feeding? You're feeding 3 kids and you got $1.7 billion. I'm okay.
It was funny. And this is like, the border and stuff like that. I mean, that's not funny, but there was a video that I saw where this woman says, he goes up to her and he says, so do you think we should have open borders? And she said, of course. And he said, okay. So can I have your name and address? Because we're looking, how many will you take? And she goes, well, what do you mean? Well, how many people will you take in your home? She goes, well, I what do you mean? Like, I can't take anyone in my home. Oh, but you want them to come over. Yeah. Who's supposed to pay for them to be here? Who's supposed to be, I remember having the kids being in public school. And because we had money, we were, the teachers were asking us to pay for all the extracurricular activities, to pay for, books and all this, because they had so many people there that couldn't afford that. And yes, I don't mind giving back. But the second you are forced to have to pay for extracurricular activities because no one can afford it, it gets expensive when everyone's like, well, everyone should just come across. Okay, well then, where's your portion? Mm-hmm. Where's your help? Well, I don't have space.
Right.
Okay, somebody else can do it. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, who? You who have money. Well, don't you think we're already donating? Don't you think we're already giving with our taxes and all this? It just gets really messy when it comes to all that.
And then I would just ask, what other country taxes their sitting population and sends money to the U.S.?
None.
Yeah, none.
Yeah.
And so then that brings up Venezuela.
Right. Right.
Let's talk about that. So give us a rundown on your
So
thoughts.
so a lot of people are looking at really the action that was taken on Saturday, and I think you got to pull back a little bit and kind of look at Venezuela and what does that strategically, what does that mean for the United States? Okay, so we have, as a lot of you know, we are looking at controlling AI, right? The United States having control of artificial intelligence. Well, artificial intelligence is going to take a lot of energy. Don't know if you've heard that.
No, I didn't hear that.
but
No,
I
heard.
did.
I heard that there are some server centers that it's drawing so much power from. They've actually reconditioned jet engines to power the
I haven't
energy to
heard
get
that.
enough power in AI server
Wow.
centers.
Yeah. So if we pull back a little more and we pull back a little more, I mean, if you're looking at an onion, you got to pull back the layers and look at it. So who is lining up strategically around the world, right? So you got China, and you got Russia, and you got Iran, and you got
Right.
North Korea. Okay.
I have a hair that's weird. Sorry.
And so if you look at those four countries and you look at really what they want to do, and if they were to get control AI, what would that mean for the United States? And so I'm going to say something against NATO right now. NATO is useless. Okay. As far as the United States goes, we really don't have that carry a big stick kind of motto. So it's really us. And so Trump is looking, I believe, I don't know this for a fact, but I think he's looking at this and how do I protect the United States from China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea? They're making a pretty good alliance. They're traveling around the world together, talking to other countries. We're not.
And you said they're BRICS?
The BRICS
The
nations.
BRICS nation?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And look at what's happening over there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when we talk about NATO and that alliance, and for that matter, the UN, I mean, the UN should, sell that building in New York and move to another country.
Yeah.
Okay. And they are not fans of ours, and they certainly do not support our way of life. And so I think that that we need to ask them to leave politely.
Well, they're definitely, it seems, full of a lot of globalists that have aligned politically against, in particular, Trump, but as a whole, the United States.
Yeah. So if we look at Venezuela, what they have for resources, okay, and the proximity of the Gulf of America and strategically into the United States, I think that's really kind of. But Maduro was not going to be a partner of ours. He already had an arrest warrant, so why don't we go get him?
And saying that, people are saying, how come there wasn't this big fight? And he has all these people protecting him. Why did it seem like he was just kind of like, hey, here I am? And like they took him. How does that work?
Anytime you're going after an HVT, a high value target, right, there are game plans and there are lines in the sand that have to be met in order to make that action start. Okay. So they're not going to go grab him in the middle of the day at a baseball game, right? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And so they had actionable items that had to be met that left him vulnerable.
Give us some examples. What would some of those be?
So he is at a distant location with little to no access. Okay. He's traveling in a lone car with maybe 2 or 3 security personnel. Okay. So those types of things would leave him very vulnerable.
And
So
how
in
do
other
they
words-
know
and
this?
easy to
How do they know this? Are they spying on him, or he has a spy? How do they know this? Is it like satellites? Like, I'm just curious.
4473 form? No, it just,
It's probably a combination, I would think.
So Intel has gathered several ways. And so if we're watching him specifically, he's a high value target. They're going to have updates on his movement and who he's with and things like that. So they're going to have a team ready to go.
And so what you're saying is there's essentially like a checklist that they're going through, and they're saying, okay, it's nighttime. Yes, let's check that one off. He's at a remote location. Yes, let's check that off. He's got, just 7 guys around him as opposed to 45. Let's check that off. And they go through it. And if they all line up, they all check, then they go in. If they're not all lined up, they're not going in.
Right.
But some people are saying he was going to make a plea deal because they made the Dominion machines over there for the election. That was
Yeah, sure. So original, the Dominion is now owned by an American group now.
Oh, okay.
But the original software and everything was there.
made over there. Do you think he had a
Yeah.
part of that?
It's I don't know that. That is a little out of my realm that I'm not paying attention to. But I am paying attention to the energy and what that country means to our security. And the security of the United States is really important. A lot of people think that, we're safe inside our borders. No, we're not.
We're not.
Well, historically, we've been more safe than other countries.
Yeah.
Because we are bordered on 2 sides by oceans and, have at least on one side, a not hostile country.
Right.
So what do you think that we're most vulnerable for? Like an EMP?
Well, no, I think the attack will come within. I mean, we've had open borders for 4 years, and we've allowed military aged men with no families to just walk across the border and set up shop and wait for a signal.
Like bombing or something like that?
I mean, when you're overseas, you're always suicide bombers, always attacks. I mean, supposedly, right? They took down the twin towers with airplanes.
Yeah. How can people protect themselves from something like that? They really can't.
I think you just have to be prepared for an event, right? So a bomb goes off, you just got to be prepared for an event. Do I have food? Do I have water? Do I have safety? Do I have first aid? Do I know routes to get out of the city if I need to get out of the city? Are they going to, contaminate our water system? Do I have a way to filter water? Things like that. There's always, if you think, well, that's off. I joke about people, you can't dig a storm cellar when you see the tornado, right? It's too late. You have to dig the storm cellar first and then wait for the tornado, right? So we have to be prepared. And being prepared a lot of times will open our eyes to, wow, I didn't notice that before. Oh, wow, I didn't know. Why is that? Oh, wow. So these other countries buying land around our military bases.
Yeah, that's not good.
And things like that. I mean, it opens our eyes to say, wow, why are we allowing them to do that?
Right.
And so we could certainly talk for 3 or 4 days on things that I kind of watch, even the market, things that are happening in the market, right? This thing with Venezuela and Saturday, anybody watch the market move on military contractors? That was a huge move, and so we watch for trends, right? So trends happen. Let's move away from Venezuela just a little bit and go to Greenland. Why is Greenland so important, right? That is another national security issue, right? So having a big continent,
right,
that so close to our borders, we want to control that, and so Greenland is a strategic place. And I think that Trump is really looking at a long-term security of the United States, and he's not building an empire for the Trump organization. He's wants to protect the United States. I believe that he loves the United States and wants to protect that.
Yeah, I get that and I see that. When I first heard about the Venezuela thing, I was concerned about it really being an act of war without a congressional declaration of war, that we're now taking out heads of state. And what does that mean for us, globally, that it's okay to do that? And then I didn't realize at the time that there was this warrant that was outstanding for his arrest. I think that does change that analysis.
We haven't recognized, the United States and other countries haven't recognized him as a head of state for more than 5 years.
Oh, really?
So, again, he didn't have elections. He just, I'm your president. And
must be nice.
Yeah. So
kind of like a king. I'm the king.
Yeah, it's funny. We had this no king protest.
Yeah.
And then we're protesting that.
Yeah, I know. Right. I've been seeing a lot of things like that. They're like, no kings, but yet let him act how he wanted to act, which it just doesn't
really
make sense.
Strange. So,
totally.
So Venezuela, I think, is a little bigger than most people are looking at. I think strategically, they do have crude oil, lots of it. Mm-hmm. Very rich country. Greenland has a lot of rare earth metals and things that the United States is going to need for AI, and so they're strategically good for the United States, and I'm not advocating that we go in militarily to Greenland. I'm not advocating that at all. I would like to see that we're able to make an alliance with Greenland and do that, so that we have that strategic ability to use it if needed. And so we talk about being on two sides of the ocean, but we can park a submarine, 50 miles off the coast. And
True.
So what happened? You were telling me, because I saw a news thing where it said we were pursuing a Venezuelan oil tanker, and Russia put their ship in between or something like that. What's going on there?
So maritime law allows you to put a country's flag. You can register in a country that the ship's not from. You can register that, right? So you can fly their flag for their protection, right? So now it's registered with Russia. Russia says, okay, we're going to protect you in the sea lanes, right? And so the United States had been tracking this ship, had lost it for a little bit, and then rediscovered it and decided that, okay, well, now it's time to board this ship. So the reason being is it was an oil tanker that was sanctioned and delivering oil to illegally, right? So the United States says, hey, we don't want that to happen. So they boarded it. And I believe they boarded it either late last night or this morning. I can't remember on the report, but they boarded it and taken control of that ship. And yes, Russia had a submarine following it and another trawler ship following it, and they didn't intercede. So we'll see what happens there.
So what do you think is going to happen with Venezuela? Because there was some mixed reports where the vice president from Venezuela was saying, I want to know that he's alive, and we're not going to go along with what Trump is saying, that he's going to be in charge of Venezuela. But then other people are saying, no, they are going to listen to what Trump has to say. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think Trump wants to see how their political system settles from this. I think they allowed the vice president to get sworn in. I think I read that.
That's
somewhere.
What I read that she was going to get sworn in.
Yeah, I think I read that. But he wants fair and free elections at some point in the future. Yes, he is taking control of some assets there. only because he wants to help according to him, right, in his reports, help the Venezuelan people because they've been suffering for so long and so hard. So I think there's some good going to come out of that. I don't think he's stealing it for the United States. He said that he would probably use some of it to replenish our strategic oil reserve, which probably not a bad idea because the last administration kind of used it all up. So we need that if we're going to fight a war. And I think preparing to fight a war is good.
Yeah.
Hopefully we never have to fight that war, but
you got to be
prepared.
prepared.
But you're not digging the hole with the tornado coming.
Right.
There you go.
Your own analogy.
And then, just to be clear, there is precedent. If we all remember our recent history, there's precedent with the U.S. going in and doing this type of thing. It happened in the late 80s with Manuel Noriega in Panama. And they had a warrant outstanding for his arrest. The U.S. went in, got him in a similar type mission, brought him back. He was tried and convicted and sentenced to prison. So they didn't just kill him.
Nope.
They went through things legally and did it appropriately.
Yeah.
And then there was Gaddafi.
Yeah.
That was not exactly the same, but it was under the guise of the people in Libya being so oppressed that it was a humanitarian thing to do it. Yeah. What they did there differently, though, is they had UN backing of it.
Sure. Yeah. So I think once the trial gets going and they'll have proof of life.
Okay.
Seeing him, he was arraigned the other day. I think that was a pretty good proof of life.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think the U.S. government is, but they do want to try him. Mm-hmm. They do want to, let that process happen. And if he's sentenced to jail or prison, then that's where he'll end up.
And a lot of people are angry because they said, we're seeing more arrests overseas versus here. What's with the Epstein list? And what's with the people that are right now? Like, what's happening there?
Well, the criminal system really is set up for the criminal. And so...
you mean the criminal in charge? No, not the criminals that don't want to let the criminals get caught.
Yeah. So if you look at our legal system, I mean, we give the criminals so many rights and we afford them so many things that actions that they can use that it takes a long time to get through our legal system. And unfortunately, it's not as fast as I want it to happen.
No, right? I've said it before. It may be a flawed system, but I still believe it's the best system out there.
Oh, absolutely. You go overseas, and there's some system that says, "What'd you see? What'd you see? Okay, off with his head."
Oh, that kid in North Korea,
right?
That stole that poster, and then he ended up dying. Do you remember that in North Korea?
Yeah,
the college student. He ended up.
So there was one in Singapore where they caned him.
Right?
They caned him.
Caned him.
They took a cane?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
Not a walking cane.
Oh.
But, like
bamboo.
A bamboo stock. They split it and they lash you across your back.
What?
So when the bamboo opens up, pinches your skin, and they lift it back up. And then those bamboo shards get in. Yeah, but
Yikes.
Guess what? He'll never do that again.
That's true.
Right. I just literally saw a report walking in today. There was a man in Maine that was stoned to death by they arrested 3 Somalians that stoned a guy to death.
Oh, that sounds
seriously
awful.
Yes.
That's
I need to look at that report and start following up on that. But that's so
well, that's terrible. I have another question for you. So what's with Candace putting out these pictures of Charlie and not the blood coming out of his back? Why is that so important? Like I know we already know there's no exit wound. They said it was, going into his spine, but the bullet size was being questioned because there's no way it would have, stayed. So what's any update we have from you on that, Jeff?
So this is really boggling, my security mind is people that are so involved that, and Candace, I don't know her personally, but I think she's a good person.
Yeah.
But I read some of the stuff or watch some of her stuff, and I just got to shake my head. And so I'll watch a little bit of it, and then I'll go, I have to go somewhere.
Well, she was talking about that. What is that base? Not Ahwatukee. No. Horachoka. What's it called?
I don't remember. It was in New Mexico, right?
Arizona. No, it was a base in Arizona that they claimed that Erica Kirk was there the day before. It was like, that guy claimed he was there, part of a special unit of the Army. Did you see that whole thing?
I didn't see that one. Wow, that's
so. There was.
You got a name of that base?
Base.
Wakachaka.
Wakachui.
Yeah.
No, but so anyways, there's this.
Wow.
There's this guy.
Let's
just call him Mr. Snow. I think his last name was Snow. Anyways, he claims that 30 years ago, he was in a special, and I might speak wrong, so just whatever. He was in a special units of the Army, and they found tunnels into Mexico with whoever named some major drug cartel guy that it's like some famous
El Chapo.
Mm-hmm.
And he found pictures of like his military leader with El Chapo in these tunnels and stuff like that. So basically he had to go undercover for 30 years. And so he comes back out of being undercover with this new name, and he decides he wants to go back to where this military base was with this special, what is it? Huachuca. He wants to go back to this military base to basically say, like, hey, whatever happened or something like that. So he claims that on the 9th or the 8th of September, he goes over to some gas station and sees guys that have labels of his previous unit in the Army that's this like private unit, and talks to them, and they said, hey man, it's right over there, like believed him and told him where it was at the Huachuca. So he goes over there and he said, I saw Erica Kirk. So basically he saw the head of security of Charlie walking out of the base, and it was these higher ups, like it was at the, what's the name of the main thing in Washington, D.C.? It was like a meeting.
The Pentagon?
It was like a Pentagon meeting, and that he thinks they all got together to kill Charlie, to have this meeting. And I'm like, what? This is just so dumb. Charlie would be driving around. If they wanted to kill Charlie, they could have killed Charlie. They didn't need a
just down
Pentagon type meeting.
Right.
And it made me mad too. Not like I was in the military as long as you, but being a veteran myself, I'm like, why is she speaking about telling them where this private military base is, where these, like, what, isn't she, like, does she think that she's not maybe messing up some other things that they have going on over there? Or does that not matter?
Well, I think a lot of times the more details you give, sometimes the story takes on a life of its own. And the more somebody will tell details, the more they are, it's almost like forcing you to believe what they.
Yeah. And this guy seemed like a BSer to me, if you ask me. He goes, I knew it was Erica. How? Those eyes. And I'm like, dude, I don't believe you. I don't care. And I've respected Candace. I've listened to some of her stuff, and I saw some of the things that she was saying. And I've spoken out and said the whole thing with, TPUSA, seems off with Erica and different things like that, me personally.
Yeah.
And,
well, it's certainly going through a change. I mean, you lost the one true leader. Erica's, she'll have to come into her own. I think she's going to do quite well, but it's not it's not going to happen overnight. And
No.
she needs some time to get, people are still reeling from this. I mean, it only happened in September. That's
Right.
only
Yeah.
5 months ago,
Right.
4 or 5 months ago. And so I think there's some, and I don't know what her angle is.
Oh yeah.
Right?
So going back to it, does it matter? What's her point with no
Yeah.
blood in the back? What does that matter? Because we all saw the blood coming out in the front.
And so the body is an amazing thing. I mean, God truly made an incredible body when He put us together, and so been involved in some shootings, been around people that have been shot. Your body closes up. It's not the movies. There's not a whole lot of blood a lot of times, right? So and a lot of times you have to search for the exit wound. It's not this big gaping hole that a lot of people think. A lot of times the tissue opens up and the bullet exits, and it closes right back up. And so you're actually having to physically search for that exit wound. And there may be a little bit of blood. I'll go back to one here at C2 Tactical where a gentleman in a class shot himself in the leg, and there was not one drop of blood outside of the body. There was clearly an entry wound, clearly an exit wound, and but no blood whatsoever. Now, soft tissue, there was a lot of damage, things like that, but no blood, no visible signs of blood. So, so it can happen. Now, a chest wound like that, being the thoracic cavity, is, you always think about blood because the heart's there,
right?
And the aorta and all those are big pipes. I call them pipes, airbags, pipes, and pumps. So you have a lot of that up there. So you tend to think that, hey, there should be some blood, right? You got two big ones going, one going up, one going down, in your throat or in your neck. And so if those are hit, you get a lot of blood. But if you remember a lady on the was it the bus or train that was cut?
This knife, yeah.
When he first sliced her, there was no blood.
There was
at
like
all,
nothing. She looked confused.
Right. It was only when she tilted and fell over that actually blood came out of the body. Right. And so all that blood was pooling into her body, was filling up the cavity, if you will. And then when she disturbed the cut line, that's when the blood came out. And so the movies have kind of given us this visual that, this guy goes flying through the air and there's blood splatter and there's all this stuff happening. And I think in the third grade, I learned for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So if the guy is going flying through the air that got shot, the shooter has to be flying through the air too, right? So, and we know that doesn't happen. So movies have, but it's good. It sells a lot of movies.
Right.
So
it's a good visual.
Yeah, it's a good visual. We like that.
But that's got to be frustrating for people that know more, where you're like, I'm just going to have to stay off the internet, where people are like, there should have been this. And you're like, that's not how it works.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. People should stay off the internet.
Don't stay off the internet to watch our podcast. At least come on for our podcast. Thank you very much.
But social media. Social media.
Because you read these things and then they're like, they put ideas in your head of what it should be and what's not fair and what's this and that. And it gets you emotionally riled up.
Yeah.
And then I don't think you're able to actually think clearly.
Yeah. But what was the point that Candace was trying to make with the no blood on the back of his neck? I mean, why was she ultimately bringing that up?
I don't know. I didn't watch.
I mean, I don't know.
I was watching.
So does that give some doubt? Right? And people's
I read what people said. They're like, oh, so he's not dead. He never died. That was just a fake thing that came out. A lot of people go, it's just movies again.
Right.
Everything's a movie.
Well, and we look at social media, and I'm gonna jump on this a little bit because it's I love the First Amendment as much as I love the Second Amendment, right? I think that we have to have freedom of speech, okay? But it's an opinion,
right?
Okay, and opinions are like buttholes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say everybody
has one, and they all stink, right? So yeah, use it for entertainment purposes. If you've got 10, 15 minutes to kill, okay, and that's the way you want to spend it that way. Typically what I see though is it's hours. And then, you get down this rabbit hole, and you're not researching to find out if what they said or what they presented is true.
Yeah, but don't most people consider that the research?
Yeah.
They're doing the research by being on social media.
But they don't even care half the time. It's like you'll give them facts of something, or they'll have like a clip. And I'm sure they do it with both sides politically. But you'll have a shortened clip and you're like, that's not what that person said. And you show them the whole clip and they're like, well, I hate him anyways. Yeah. That's that Trump derangement.
Well, wasn't that January 6th?
What? Yes. Well, you know what's crazy, and I've talked about this with January 6th. Bob, who was on here, his son was there. And his son said that when he was walking, so they had left the Trump rally and he had to use the bathroom. Well, they forced everyone to walk to the Capitol building because they blocked the streets. And he just wanted to go to the bathroom. And he's like, what are you doing? And they're like, you couldn't enter. The police had blocked the entire street, forcing everybody to go from Trump's rally to the Capitol building. You couldn't even leave the area. You were forced to exit through there.
Yeah.
And so
didn't he say there were no bathrooms along the way?
There were no bathrooms along the way. And you had to go there. And then you remember that guy, we had met him where he had the animal thing on his head.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that got
sentenced. He was one of the guys that got sentenced. He saw them on a balcony, so they would have let them in, put them on the balcony before everything started. And there was a camera guy out there, and there was a security guard holding the door right there where they're all waiting to go in. So there were no stairs to go up there. So Bob's son actually looked up and saw that guy that was sentenced up there waiting to go in. Like, we're all waiting for the time where everybody's let in. They weren't doing anything wrong. And then all of a sudden, the camera guy outside films the security guard opening the door and letting them in. And it was like so crazy that they're like, they bombarded. No, there was a video of the guy on the balcony for 20 minutes before they were let in. It was such a scam.
But I believe it was BBC that edited Trump's clip of his speech, right?
Yes.
And so I think as we watch stuff, we'll watch and go, wow, I can't believe he did that. Well, you shouldn't believe it.
Because he didn't.
You shouldn't believe it. You should go research that.
Right.
Right. But most people aren't going to do that. Most people are going to see that, and that's the gospel.
Well, because they want
the
to feel how they want to feel.
Yep.
So if and I talk that about everything, it's scary to say, I'm not going to get a vaccination because I don't believe in it, because then I got to go to the rabbit hole of, well, then how am I going to be protected? And I don't believe doctors, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I just will forever believe in vaccine. Well, but this, that, and I don't care. So if you were to actually show them, Trump didn't say this, and if they hate Trump, I don't care. I hate him anyways. You're never going to convince me that I like him anyways. Well, okay, because don't you think that I could have felt that way towards Biden? I mean, at the end of the day, they're human too. They're all human.
Yeah.
And, obviously you don't have excuses for the way people act or react to things. And I think that, there's a lot of things messed up with that administration. That's my personal opinion, the way I want to live my life. But no, it's just crazy. They don't want to know the facts.
But people are so polarized. And we've talked about this again and again. They're so polarized. They're either all for one side and all against another, or vice versa. And we've talked about how do you actually reach out to people? How do you actually get them to quit being that way once they're embedded in those emotions.
I got yelled at by conservatives because I said Trump shouldn't have said the thing about that actor who's a jerk,
Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Rob Reiner's a jerk. But you don't go on there and say all this, in my personal opinion. You don't say all that stuff. You act more honorable as the president. This is how we should act. And I went on there saying, I don't agree with the way he responded to that. And I had so many conservatives going, you rhino, you this, you that. And I'm like, no, I'm a human. And I can say I like certain things Trump does. And I can say I don't like certain things. They're a person. He's not Jesus. And
that's a very balanced emotional approach to everything. But we're living in a day and age where most people don't have that. And I don't know how do we get through to people to say, wait, back up the emotions, balance things, look at everything.
Well, isn't that strange that we were just talking about Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
So I think Charlie had a great way of presenting debate.
He did.
And we don't debate anymore.
No,
it's my way, or I'm not going to talk to you. I've certainly lost some friends through the years that I've said something, and I again jokingly, it probably doesn't come off that way, but I said, well, if you know me long enough, I'm going to offend you, right? And so it's true, but I don't know where you think you don't have a right not to be offended. Right.
No,
that's not in the Constitution.
Right.
I have the ability to believe and to speak and to form an opinion for me and me only. Now, I can debate you.
Right.
Okay. And try to win your belief. But in the end of the day, it's my belief, whether you believe that or not. That's what, with the information that I have, this is how I feel about something. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people with feelings that are with the relationship with a phone.
Well, and they make judgments. I mean, I've had people say, oh, you're a Karen who's, conservative Karen who's wealthy that doesn't even know what it's like in real life. Really, I've been on food stamps. I've been homeless when I was younger. I've been in really bad situations. If you were to hear my testimony, I almost wanted to kill myself when I was 25 years old, left alone basically for over a month. And I prayed to God and I heard God's voice. And so I was beaten by the guy I was with. I mean, he beat me all the time. He gave me his urine one time telling me it was tea. I mean, I have been through so much and people look at me and they're like, you don't even know what it's like to live. I do. And for you to judge me like that is so wrong. And they just assume you haven't felt what it's like to live a horrible life. You haven't felt the pain. I have come back from a lot. I mean, I have really come back from a lot, and people don't see that. They only see me being long blonde hair and married to an attorney. And you don't know what the heck it is to live a life of, coming back from something hard. I have come back from multiple things that are very hard. Yeah. And if you actually want to get to know me, I would love to share those things, but people, they don't.
They don't care.
They want to have it worse. They want to be a victim. They want to say, you have no idea. I do. I have an idea. I mean, I had my water being turned off with an autistic child going through a divorce and, being on food stamps and, feeling like the world was against me. And I've been there, but people don't care because they have always got it worse. Ken has like
that's a universal truth is what I call it. Everybody's always got it worse.
Yeah.
But I've always believed I'm not a victim in my circumstances.
You guys have known me for a little bit now. And what do I say when you ask me how I'm doing? Super fantastic.
Super
right?
fantastic.
Yeah, right. Okay. And why do I say that?
Better to be seen than viewed.
Yeah, yes. It's better to be seen than viewed. That's absolutely right. But why do I say that? Why do I say super fantastic?
You answer the question. I don't know.
Okay. So any day outside the mountains of Afghanistan is a super fantastic.
I love it.
And it's just about our perception, right? So our optics. So somebody telling me they're having a bad day, I go, really? Really? You're having a bad day? Okay. 24 hours in Afghanistan. I'll show you a bad day.
Yeah.
Okay. So that it's just perspective.
Yeah, sure.
And so, you bouncing back or coming back and fighting, that's what the American spirit's all about, right? Is getting back up and I can succeed. And some people just can't do that. And that's unfortunate, but that's their problem, not ours.
Oh no, but it's when they judge you,
yeah, and then they judge
they judge me, and they're like,
and-
you don't know crap about anything
Yeah.
about living a hard life, and I'm like, okay, well then think that. I mean, I used to have bruises so black and blue that my arm was entirely dark purple because he would beat me so bad, and I ended up going, this is the best thing right now because I don't know why. I just believed that for some reason.
I don't understand the judgment, right? It's unfortunate that we do that as a society, but a lot of it has to do, I believe, with social media, because they're going, well, I'm not as good as this person, or I'm better than that person, or whatever it is, right? But it's right in their face all the time, instead of going. When I was a kid, I'm going to age myself here, but I'd go outside and pretty soon we'd be playing catch or something, and we'd have a few more, and we'd go to the baseball park, and now we have a game going on, right? And so we have that, and we had kids in the neighborhood that maybe we don't get along with them, or we didn't, whatever, but we played and we had disagreements, but we were able to work it out.
Yes.
We can't work anything out.
Yeah, you play a game of pickup football and you get so exhausted you can't work it out any other way. So it's kind of done.
Yeah.
You talked about the social media being sort of a reason for all of that. And I agree. I think it actually goes back and stems from going from nightly news to 24-hour news. I think they have to polarize people, and they have to fill space and airtime with opinions and not just facts and news stories anymore, that they're looking for ratings, and they're looking, they're just polarizing people.
Well,
Set
what
up
was
the
that?
ratings.
What did we talk? What was the tagline, or rage bait?
Rage bait. Yeah, totally.
So let's go back to where we started, Minnesota. If we didn't have social media, we probably still would not know about this yet.
True.
Right.
It would still be at the local news before national news picked it up.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what social media does. Is now we've got all these people that are maybe sidewalk attorneys.
Yeah, totally.
Quarterback. What is it? Quarterback Monday.
Monday.
Quarterback.
Monday. Yeah. So that you have all these people that just have their own opinions of what they think is happening, and it's been less than 48 hours. All the facts aren't out yet.
No, definitely not.
And
I mean,
so,
there's obviously plenty of amusing things that come out online as well.
Jack's in it.
Yeah, this one, shout out to Jack for this one, courtesy of him. There's a website called Polymarket, and you can apparently bet on all sorts of things online. And he sent us this one. The bet is, you can bet either for yes or against no. Will Jesus return before 2027? So you can bet yes or no.
But I'm like, if you bet yes and he does come, you're not getting your money.
yeah.
I'm thinking you bet no, because this is a no lose thing. If you bet no and he doesn't come back, you've won. If he comes back, you've won. So there's no losing that. So
let's make up a bet and have people bet. We bet that Jeff is wait. What
will grow hair?
Well, you used to think I was raptured all the time. Jeff gets raptured first. He's holier than me.
No, but always fun. I really appreciate.
Great having you.
And it's and there's always something happening, right? And it seems like it's coming fast and furious. But
that's a movie, Fast and
yeah, sure. But it seems like these things are happening, but I think it's because we have this 24-hour cycle.
Yeah.
Sure.
Of just and it takes over, right? So this story will lose its spot.
Sure. The next emotional thing will rear its head tomorrow, and people will be focused on that.
Yeah.
But, we really appreciate you coming on, getting your insight about
Have you read any books or watched anything lately that you want to recommend to people? Anything good?
So I don't remember the last couple of books that I told you, but Think and Grow Rich, that book always comes to me. There's a story right off the bat about 3 Feet from Gold. I don't know if you've ever read that book, but I keep going back to that. That this miner was 3 feet from gold, from the richest gold mine ever discovered.
For real?
For real. And he gave up.
Turned back.
Oh.
And he sold his gold mine to this guy for pennies on the dollar.
Oh.
And that guy went into town and hired a geologist to come out and look at the mine and tell him where to start digging. And that geologist kind of looked and surveyed and looked at the mine, and he's put an X on the wall, and he says, dig in that direction, and within 3 feet you probably will hit a strand of gold.
Oh my gosh.
He did.
Oh no.
And that gold mine is still working today.
Lesson learned. Don't sell it all. Just partially sell it and hire someone yourself.
So it's perseverance, staying that it's always, I read that. It's really good.
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, I've heard of the book. I just haven't.
We may have it.
So got some great stories in there, great perseverance. That would be good.
I had the perseverance because that day I met Jesus. God spoke to me, and I realized that day, it does not matter who here is on your side. If you're living and breathing, that means God wants you here. Yeah. Period. The end. If you're living and breathing, God wants you here. Yeah. So even if you think that you don't matter to the world, or you don't matter to people in your family, or you don't matter to even your dog, you matter to God. Yeah. You would not be here if he didn't want you here.
I love it.
So, absolutely. I would agree 100%. All
right. Well, thanks, Jeff. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Hopefully there's not too many more shootings to have you on again soon.
Well, stay dangerous, because that's the only way to be safe. Okay.
Sounds good.
See you next time.